You are listening to Arts on the Air, a bi-weekly-ish interview show dedicated to Savannah, Georgia's artists, musicians, and authors. Each episode will feature a guest in conversation about their philosophy, practice, and current projects, as well as their thoughts on the state of the arts in our community of Savannah. Our theme music is a clip of Summer Nights by the Eric Jones Trio. It's provided by our friend Mark Chesanow, who plays with the Eric Jones Trio. Hey everyone, welcome to Arts on the Air. This is Tamara Garvey, and I'm sitting down with Lusiana Morales today. Welcome.
Oh, hi. Thank you for having me here.
You are so welcome. It's a pleasure to meet you finally. I've liked your work on Instagram for a long time.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And I found Lusiana through the SOY X SOY Instagram account, which has been a goldmine. So I'm going to read a little bio for you. Lusiana is a tattoo artist at Tramp Art Studios for about a year now. And she's a visual artist. You have a degree in painting and sculpture from SCAD, and then you also studied architecture at the University of Puerto Rico, right?
Yes.
All right,
yes,
awesome. Yeah, so I saw, so you were born and you grew up in Puerto Rico, and that you grew up doing a lot of textile work with your grandma.
Yeah.
Very cool. Can you talk about that a little bit?
So I've always been an artist. I feel like my family's not, I don't come from a family of artists, but I've always been in touch with art. Growing up with my family and my grandma, she would be a seamstress, and she would do her own clothes growing up. But when I met my grandma, she was into flowers. So she had left behind doing seam work, but she has always had her sewing machine. So if I needed to fix anything, I would just go to her and she would teach me. So growing up with her, she would put me a bunch of scraps, and I would just play and glue them and try to do my own thing.
Like a collage.
Yeah, collage, and do my own plushies. I would do clothes to them with the help of her.
Oh, did you take to the sewing machine pretty easily?
Not at first, but then when I started to get into more textile art, I would ask her and she would teach me a little. And then I inherited an old Singer machine that she had.
It's so classic.
And it's like a pain to work with it because it's so different from modern, but it's such a good quality of work.
I know. I feel like until recently there was a place on maybe Duran that was like a sewing machine repair shop. Is that still a thing?
I don't know.
I love that there are still just machines from a certain era that work so well that are still around, and there's people that repair things.
Well. You just have to know how to maintain them, because some require oil and more care.
It's amazing. It's like a car.
Yeah.
So when you moved to Savannah, you flew your sewing machine over here with you, or did you mail it?
At first I didn't bring it because it was 40 pounds.
Yeah,
and then I just brought it in an empty suitcase with a bunch of clothes around it.
Yeah.
And hope for the best.
They got to fly over. That's so cute.
Yeah, but other than that, I've always been a painter.
Okay.
So that was more on the side, and I wouldn't do it all the time, but yes, I would always be painting. I would carry my coloring book and my markers and everything with me everywhere.
Oh. Did you grow up in a city or more of a rural environment?
I grew up in the city, but very connected to nature. My parents would travel a lot around the island. Puerto Rico is an island, so 3 hours you could be I'm from Bayamón, so in 3 hours you can be in Cabo Rojo, which is the southwest part, and Bayamón is more in the north. Okay. So that's more city next to the capital, San Juan, and there's beaches and rivers and forests all over. So we would just go.
That is beautiful. Did you ever run into any scary wild animal?
Well, in Puerto Rico there isn't wild, terrifying animals. I mean, the most scary, it's not even scary, are the big iguanas.
Okay.
You see them everywhere. And no, because I pick up frogs if I see them. I love the coquis. I love the birds, so I'm not afraid of.
There's not alligators here?
No. I mean, there could be a little. It's not even an alligator. It's the small ones that you can find in the rivers. I guess it could be a tiny alligator.
Oh my gosh.
But not everywhere.
Okay, interesting. I guess a huge iguana is a tiny alligator.
Yeah, and snakes. There's some big snakes, but also rare to find. You have to be right and looking for them. Or if you have the bad luck of getting one in your house, but that would be just if you live more in the rural area.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of like Georgia, too, that if you're out in the country, you can end up with a snake in your house.
That's like...
Interesting.
That's like... But I love the good thing about Puerto Rico that I love the most is the landscape and the mountains.
Yeah. I bet it seems like it's just very lush and that the flowers would be beautiful and
flowers and the beaches.
That's
beaches
so nice.
Everywhere, different kinds.
And so you growing up, so when you were at the end of high school, you started going to architecture school, right? What made you decide into that? Yeah.
Well, I was always into painting, so I would participate in high school in competitions of art, and I would always be interested in having that as my profession. But I didn't come from a family of artists, so I didn't really know how to get there. Right. So I thought, well, architecture. And the first year was great. I was doing hands-on and drawing and building the models. Yeah. But then when we transitioned to the computers, I was just not happy with it because it was just a lot of sitting down in the computer and a lot of math. And I wasn't a fan of doing math or being in the computer.
And is that what like what it was gonna be basically going forward? Is gonna be more computer and
more
less
computer?
drawing?
Yeah, because that's the modern design industry. It's just you design the computer, you print out, you can do stuff by hand and models. You can still do that, but it's not efficient for the time. If you want to just design it in the computer, maybe just get it to the laser cutter and cut all the parts for you.
And you really wanted to do like cutting out, like making the little cardboard
models. And I was more into the visual design. I've never been to like it has to be perfect measure, it has to go together. I just design and whatever I draw it goes. And having to measure everything, getting everything perfect I wasn't happy doing that. And it took a lot of time for me. So one day, my friend from architecture saw me drawing, because I would always be drawing and designing. And she was like, oh, have you ever been interested in tattooing? And I was like, oh, actually, yes. But I've never thought of it as me being a tattoo artist in the future, because I kind of left all those ideas behind when I started architecture. Yeah. And she introduced me to her friend that was a manager at a tattoo shop. And that's how I started going after school and learning about tattoos.
That's cool. So it was like this very kind of classic, almost like an apprenticeship where you just went to a shop and learned. Yeah, after school in architecture, I would go to the tattoo shop, and there I would just learn, ask questions, see what they were doing, and eventually I started thinking, well, maybe I could just be like them. And transition from drawing my drawings into tattoos. And I mean, it sounds like you wanted to do something artistic, and you were looking for a way to have like more of a job, a career type thing. So once that occurred to you that like you can have a job at a tattoo studio, and it was more it made more sense to me than just painting and seeing where that would take me, because I love to paint, but at the moment I didn't have any guidance to see how to do that. But when I started at the tattoo shop, one of the tattoo artists was a painter, and he had his painting career on the side, and then he would have his tattoos, and he would even like paint and then transition that into a tattoo, and he would have like both. So that was like a very, how do you say, like my idol. Like inspirational.
He's my friend, Carlos Ayala. He's a Puerto Rican tattoo artist and painter and sculptor. He does a bunch of art, and I just look into him, and at the moment he was just teaching me how to tattoo, and then I started like getting more confidence and thinking about how I could actually do that as well. It does seem like,
I mean, from the little I know of tattoo artists, that it's really common for them to like, it's kind of funny to think about that, like the tattooing is your day job, like your serious job, but that a lot of them are fine artists on the side too, or like comic book artists or something. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Do you know what it was about the drawings that you were doing that led your friend to look at them and think they looked tattoo style?
I would draw a lot with the micron pens. In architecture, you use them to design, and I was doing like a butterfly, I think. Yeah. Because one of my projects was based on the monarch and how the monarch goes into transition. And I was just sketching that when she mentioned it,
Oh, that's sweet.
And butterflies, people love to get.
That is a classic tattoo, right? So that's been nice because I guess you were sort of coming to a point in your architecture program that you weren't loving it so much anymore. So after school, you would go and do this thing that you loved more and more.
Yeah, and when I started to realize I wanted to be a tattoo artist, that's when I questioned, should I even finish this degree?
Yeah.
And that's when I decided to transfer schools, and I looked into SCAD, and that's how I ended up in Savannah, from Puerto Rico.
Were you looking at other places in the U.S. as well? Or?
I was just looking into going to Puerto Rico art school.
Okay.
And I was just going to stay there. My dad was actually the one that was like, hey, if you really want to like go into art, you should go into like the best school. He sent me over here.
So was it your dad who had like heard of SCAD?
Well,
I
heard of SCAD when I was in high school in one of those college fairs that a lot of colleges go to Puerto Rico and different schools and just...
Yeah, I guess SCAD, they go everywhere, right?
Yeah, they go everywhere. So I knew about SCAD. I just never considered it as an option for me.
Yeah.
And then I kind of forgot about it until my dad remembered and he was like, you could go in here.
Nice. So you did like 2 years of architecture and then transferred here?
2 years and a half. I remember I transferred half. I did a semester and then I was like, I'm going to transfer now.
Yeah. When you arrived here at SCAD, did you know anybody else who was here who you'd known from high school?
No. But actually, yes. I knew some friends that have gone already to SCAD and they were already here, but they were younger than me.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
They were from my high school, but not from my grade.
Yeah. When you moved here, did you live in the dorms at first?
No, I was 20 when I moved to Savannah, and I found there's some complexes by Bay Street, and that's where you would like rent your room with the bathroom, and then you would be assigned 3 other roommates that lived in the same apartment.
Interesting.
Yeah, but each bedroom had a bathroom.
Okay, so you had a little privacy.
Yeah.
What did you think of Savannah when you first arrived?
Well, Savannah is beautiful. I think going from Puerto Rico to Savannah was like, wow, it's so different, but it has its own beauty. And especially the history of it. Yeah. I feel the history is very rich.
Yeah, I feel like probably in your town in Puerto Rico that you would have really classic architecture as well, like maybe a similar
Spanish,
era. Yeah, that's nice. So it was kind of a similar, like still a European vibe, a European kind of city.
Yeah, similar to that. But the trees and the moss, you don't have that in Puerto Rico.
Yeah, that's true. That's nice to go from one place with a lot of both natural and architectural beauty to another. So when you arrived, you were 20? Yeah,
I was 20, and I arrived before COVID, so January 2020.
Wow, that is crazy timing.
So I started my quarter, and then COVID happened, and I just went back to Puerto Rico for about like 6 months.
Okay.
Yeah.
And just like sat it out kind of. And then did SCAD start back again just remotely or in person?
I think they started remotely. Because they paused the classes, but then classes were back up, but remote and online. Yeah. So it was hard to understand, because I was taking live model classes on Zoom, and that was a bummer.
That was wild.
Because it was like, I guess I could draw this figure, but it's just like looking at a picture.
So that's interesting also, because when you do live model classes, like a big part of it is, like the model's in the middle, and then there's like a ring of students around drawing, so everybody has a slightly different drawing, so it's a different angle. So with you guys, was it like the professor's just aiming a camera at the model and then everybody's drawing it?
The model has his own Zoom page, so the professor would tell them to change maybe the pose. Yeah. But everyone would have the same point of view. And
that seems maybe like scary for the model to
but they were nude.
Oh, they
because of the Zoom regulations.
Yeah, I was gonna say that seems like, because it's a whole thing when you do live classes. That like nobody's gonna take a photo of you. You have protection about that.
And I was very excited for those classes, but I never got to actually have them live.
So would they be wearing a bathing suit?
They were wearing like the tiniest underwear they could find. Like the men would wear, like, I remember I was drawing a male model, and he had like an underwear, but it was like nude. Oh. So it was very tight and close to the skin, just like...
He had some flesh underwear on?
Yeah. And tight.
He did his best. So you
can see like the muscles, because like that's the point of seeing the contour of the muscle.
Well, it's so interesting that was so it was like in your foundations classes era is when you started back at SCAD.
Yeah.
Wow.
And good thing I got like 60 something credits transfer, so I only had to do 2.5 years more of painting.
That is nice.
Yeah.
Because of the expense.
The expense.
So when you arrived at SCAD, you already were thinking you were majoring in painting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I majored in painting, and well, those first months I took online, but then when I came back, we were doing like half online, another like half not.
Okay.
It was complicated, and then we were all wearing masks, but then the mask thing disappeared, so you weren't like forced to wear a mask. Some people will wear them, some people weren't.
Yeah, interesting.
It was such a weird time.
And then it must have been nice, at least then when you were in your painting classes, that like in person you were having critiques of showing your work, because that also seems weird to be critiquing over a screen.
No, everything was just weird. It was unfortunate overall. Like
Did you do you feel like you made friends in your program at SCAD?
I did, not as much as I would think I would made if I were like an undergrad since the beginning. Because getting there as a transfer student, everyone already has like their friends. Yeah. But I did have ended a lot of friends. But after the Zoom situation, virtual.
Right. Once it was back in person.
Because doing friends over Zoom with the professor there, no.
Yeah. And so you were in Alexander Hall, right? Which is in such an interesting area. Like,
it's like the end.
I remember taking classes there at the end of Indian Street. Could you be in there kind of 24/7 to be in there painting if you wanted?
The good thing about that hall is that 24/7. So anytime I needed to paint, or if I was just there all night, I could just stay there. Yeah.
I remember that. It's such a cool vibe. I mean, you really bond with people if you're painting overnight.
I had like a studio mate, so we would paint together, and you could, when you're friends with people, you can just hop around studios and see what they're doing, because the studios at Alexander Hall is like a room with the door, so if you want to paint in private, you just close your door.
That's so nice.
Most people would just have them open if we were in class, and you would just hop around, see what they were doing. And I remember as critique, we would just as a group hop around the studios and see what everyone was doing.
How did you take to it where at the beginning where it's like you're kind of copying old masters paintings and it's a lot of materials and techniques, and I know they really start you off on like oil painting and learning, doing underpainting and things like that, and you were used to doing like drawings with a micron, so how did that go for you? Well,
at architecture I was doing micron mainly, but I've always been mixed media. I use whatever I have, and at the beginning I was using the materials that I had in Puerto Rico, because I had to take all my my basic classes. How do you say? The classes that you take before you know what you're going to do.
Oh, the foundations.
The foundations for painting. So the oil paint and the water base, I took that over Zoom.
You do a lot of gouache, right?
And gouache, yes. So I knew a little bit of all the techniques. I just didn't know how to use them properly, because I've been self-taught before I came to SCAD.
At what point did you pick back up with the tattooing in Savannah?
So at that point, when I came to Savannah, I would work here, focus on school, and I was a barista, because my godmother had a friend that was owned blends. I don't even remember blends.
I loved blends. Yeah.
He owned blends, and they also owned Tandem and Bay Street. So it was like I was a barista there as a part-time, and then I would work on school, and then every break I would go to Puerto Rico and I would tattoo there. So I had my clients, I still do have my clients in Puerto Rico, that every time I would come back I would tattoo them, and I would have both.
Do you at some point have to take some kind of like licensing exam or anything like that?
At least in Puerto Rico you require a license. Here in Georgia too. There's some states that don't require it, but it's very rare. But you do have to take an exam and get certified, because it's a lot of blood pathogens and things that you need to be aware of when you're dealing with people liquids.
Did you, for the exam, are you actually like performing a tattoo in front of anybody?
At least the ones that I took, no, because you already need to know how to tattoo before you take the exam. So you would do your apprenticeship, and with that, you would take the exam. So you would already know what the exam is going to ask, and
so
you would also study for that.
Issues.
It's more about the safety of dealing with the blood and with people. Here in Savannah, in Chatham County, they require you a CPR, first aid, so you do need to know how to deal, because people react to tattooing differently. Some you might think someone is fine, and then they start to like lose, like the blood sugar goes down, or they feel dizzy, or they faint, or they throw up. Like, you don't ever know.
These are things that happen.
Yes.
I guess it's pretty rare. You don't hear about that.
It's rare,
too much.
but it can happen. You always need to be prepared. Come like eat before your appointment, get rested, don't drink too much the day before, because alcohol like makes your blood liquid, more like liquidy.
I'm always curious about, like, there's different colors of inks that last longer or do better. Are there any like tips you can give us about that?
Well, I do a lot of fine line. I do black. Depending on what you want, that's what the colors are gonna vary. I have clients that are like, hey, I want a tattoo, but I want a tattoo that's not too black and it's very thin, so I would water down the ink a little bit depending on the effect you want. If I want certain areas to be lighter, I would use, it's almost like painting. You lay out your palette, and from that palette you pick colors. Yeah. And each artist has his own like way of picking those colors and order, because usually go from darkest to lightest. You wouldn't want to like start with a red if you know you need to do some black. Okay. Because the black might tint the red with the black, so
that's kind of the opposite of painting, because I feel like most people in painting go from light to dark. Yeah. And I guess there's sort of new technology with tattooing where it can look watercolory.
Yeah,
right?
No, depending on the effect that how you hold the needle, how you put it in the skin, what needle you're using. They're all like little paintbrush. You go from different sizes and different effects.
So getting back to your your painting career, when you get, I know at the beginning a lot of the classes are just like you have projects and you're painting what they tell you, and then at a certain point I guess you switch to where you're kind of working on your own style. And what did you kind of discover that you really liked as far as either concepts or materials?
So starting after those foundation classes of the painting department, I started realizing I'm vegan, so I care a lot for the animals and the environment. So I started connecting the dots and being like, I don't want to use too much plastic, and using acrylic is basically using plastic. So I started thinking of ways that I could still do color or still do art and reusing materials that I found. So that transitioned me into looking at cardboard, bubble wrap, anything that was discarded, and cutting it and kind of collaging it together to create these pieces. The struggle with that was at first that they were all like gray and brown, because I wasn't using any color, and it looked very recycled materials. And that's when I went back into my grandma and textiles, and I thought, hey, maybe I can use textiles to put color into them. And that's how I started transitioning to using a lot of textiles to work that.
It looked like by the end of your program at SCAD, you were taking some fibers classes too, it seems?
By the end of the program, I was able to switch my last painting elective to a Fibers 101. And that's how I started looking at the Fibers program in Pepe Hall and learning how to transfer that knowledge of painting and kind of paint with the fabric. Yeah.
That's really interesting. I think, and you were in the, were you in the Fibers Open Studio night?
I didn't go. That was like my first time at Fibers taking that class, and that's when I started learning about the faculty and how it worked, because I was stuck in Alexander most of my time, because when I transferred, most of my foundations were already from architecture, so I didn't have to move around so much. So at the time that COVID happened, so that first like few months of my undergrad, because I ended up doing 2.5 years, half of it was online and with mass and COVID, and the last of it I was able to learn more. But I started learning more about fibers when I'm doing an MFA in fibers now.
Are you?
Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing.
So now that I'm in the program, I'm learning so much from it.
Wow, when did that start?
I started last fall.
Okay.
So this fall would be a year into it.
Well, it's, okay, I was just thinking, because I felt like I had seen you at the Fibers Open Studio, but it's because you're going to grad school.
Yes.
Okay, well, that makes sense.
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah, how I got there is that, I don't know, after my painting program, I graduated, and my original plan was to go back to Puerto Rico, where I left everything and came here to Savannah. And I was like, well, maybe I'm not ready for that.
Yeah.
And I wanted to branch out a little, so I decided to move to Miami.
And when did you graduate?
2022.
Okay, cool. Okay.
Spring 2022. Moved to Miami. I was there working as a full-time tattoo artist, and then SCAD contacted me to do a commission.
Oh.
So I ended up doing 5 paintings for SCAD.
That's so cool. Where were they going to put them?
They're supposed to be in one of the new dorms. I just haven't been able to access the building
my gosh.
to look for them. But they're supposed to be there. I haven't seen them.
So you haven't gotten photos or anything?
No.
That's so interesting. Is that like a thing that they kind of are doing more and more now? Is like even as
Reaching
a recent
out,
grad, like
yeah.
a recent undergrad grad, to reach out to commission work? It's very cool.
I was so surprised when they did that, because I was just tattooing at the moment. I wasn't even painting because I was just so focused on my tattoo career in Miami. So I was doing small things, and they contacted me based on a painting that I did, that I posted on my Instagram from undergrad.
Crazy.
In those few first months doing SCAD.
Yeah.
So.
Well, so I did see on your Instagram, and I was going to ask you about this, that you had this series of these like
Neon paradigms.
Yeah, that they were like very pop art, and they were pretty big. And I was wondering about that because it looked different. So that's the commission.
That's the
pieces?
commission, yes.
Wow. And what were the size of those?
They were 4 feet by 4 feet.
Yeah, that's cool.
They were very big. They took so much to carry from Miami to come up to Savannah. Because then when I was doing that commission, I was just thinking, hey, I think I'm not ready. I think I want to do a master's now.
Wow.
And that's what made me move back to Savannah.
Gosh. So they commissioned these 5 like they specifically wanted them that big?
Yeah, they wanted that size, and they gave me the option of, they saw that painting that I did in my undergrad, in my undergrad at the beginning of the painting program, and they just asked me if I could just move forward with that same
scale up. They look very cool. They're very pop art. They're very colorful.
They're very Miami inspired.
Yeah, they're
with the
surreal
neon.
Looking.
Yeah,
they are. That's so
surreal.
Interesting. So did you have a really tight timeline for them, or were they kind of easy about that?
Well, they reach out with enough time. I think they had 6 months before I had to finish them, and I just took my time, and I dedicated all my time to working on them.
Yeah. So you're working. So during the day you had your tattoo job, and then at night you were doing these commissions.
Or actually during the morning, because Miami tattoo shop had a weird schedule. I would go in at 5, and I would
it was more of a night.
5 p.m. and I would leave like around 2 a.m. 3. I'm doing a lot
that
of
totally
tours.
makes more sense for Miami.
Yeah. So I would work on them. I'm a morning person, so I would get up, work on them, and then go to work.
How challenging was that to do these like 4-foot paintings, to do that scale?
It was very big for me because it's my first time painting that big. I think I've done some I did some fiber art for my undergrad that was bigger than that.
Okay.
But they were fabric. And the other one that I did that was almost as big was an abstract. So painting and being so into the detail that big was new.
And then you were done with them, and you like put them on a truck and you drive them to Savannah?
Yeah, I put them on the truck with all my moving things, and then I moved them back to Savannah.
Wow, so you like finished the paintings and then you decided you were moving, and so you
No, I already knew I was moving when they reached out. I moved to Miami, and it was like a few months in that I was like, maybe I should do my master's and go back to Savannah.
And Miami seems very intense.
It's so intense. I moved to be more close, like a flight away from Puerto Rico.
Yeah. And
also in the art scene and experience that. But it was very chaotic, a lot of energy, and such a lot of compacted people in that space.
Yeah, and I guess, and if you like the vibe of Savannah and the city that you're from, I'm assuming isn't enormous like Miami. Yeah, Miami seems intimidating.
Miami was a great experience. I loved it. I met so many people, and I was exposed to the art right there, but not for an everyday lifestyle for me.
Were the type of tattoos that you were doing there, was it different at all than what you were used to?
I was used to it. Just a lot of tiny tattoos, and I love doing fine line small tattoos, but most of them were tourists. I think more than locals, I would get more tourists, especially in those times, because it was people that wanted to remember Miami for their trip, and they wanted to get something small. So
what are typical things that people would get tattooed to remember? Right? Was it the same type of things?
Beach things, usually sun, palm tree, 305, and some names, small things, sparkles, beach things.
Yeah. So you came back and you enrolled to get your MFA in Fibers. That's very cool.
Yeah. And now I'm doing MFA in Fibers and working full time.
Wow. Did you know anybody in the Fibers department when you started off?
When I started off, no. Only the people that I met when I was taking my last painting elective.
Yeah.
But
so a couple professors.
And a couple professors, yes.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, my friend Katie Glusica, who I've interviewed for this before, she teaches there, I think just in the summer times. She's a Fibers professor. So I don't know if you're in classes at the moment.
No, at the moment. Since I did my intern, I was in past June, I was doing an internship for my master's, and that counted as my summer class.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
Talk about that. You went to, was it Guatemala that you went to?
Yeah, I was in Guatemala for a month, just learning about all their traditional techniques and textiles, and seeing how the rural people would still keep these traditions and work with them. Yeah. And even their language.
How did you come across that internship?
My professor, Deborah, in Fibers, she taught this student, I don't know back when, but that student, I reached out to her over Instagram, and they have this Wakami. It's like their association, and they work with all the rural communities to sell their art, to put it out there. And what they do is that they go to the communities and ask them, what do you need to sell? What are your skills? I'll help you out. And they work together. It's more like a collaboration. That's
so beautiful. So you arrived there, and then you were out in a rural community?
I was out there. I was staying in the city. Then I moved to Antigua. And when I was in each of the locations, I would travel to different parts and work in the office and just experience all those techniques and fabric.
Was it a lot of weaving?
A lot of weaving and different types of weaving. They have their backstrap weaving, and they also have their floor loom. So learning about that, and all their dyeing techniques, because they have a lot of dyeing techniques to create different patterns.
Wow. Is the floor loom the really enormous one?
That's the very big one.
Like a piano?
Yeah, it's like a piano, and it's usually, I just posted on my Instagram me working with it, because it's usually men that work with it, because women use the backstrap loom, that is like a belt that goes back on your waist, and then you attach it to a wall, and then you work with that. Okay. Using your own body.
Is it men who do the floor loom?
The floor loom, because it's more
really strong.
It's more rough, but women can do it. It's just that traditionally the women could do would work with the backstrap, because it was smaller and more not that heavy lifting. But now everyone does it.
So it's a real workout.
Yeah, it's a workout. It's using your both feet and your arms and pulling at the same time.
It sounds like rowing. like a rowing machine.
Similar to that, I guess.
Did you end up with any pieces at the end? Like, did you bring anything home with you, or was everything you're making to help them sell, kind of?
It was just more learning from them. Yeah. I have some samples that I did, but not like big projects. I was just learning, and it was a lot to take in. Yeah. So many ancient techniques.
Are a lot of the like materials and the equipment that they had there, does SCAD have it here? Because I know SCAD, I mean, the Fibers building is like incredible and beautiful. It seems they have
floor looms, but they're not the same kind. They're more modern and not that as heavy. I'm familiar with the Dobby loom, and that one is using the computer. So
that's the really mathematical one, right?
Yeah,
Katie talks about
they're
that.
all mathematical. You have to know. Once you learn the technique, you kind of know the numbers that you have to do, and it's all practice.
Is it bringing you back to like in architecture where things had to be very precise?
No, kind of, but that's why I don't do weaving.
Okay. Yeah,
I like working with chance. So if I do something and it has like a thread that is off, I just leave it there. Like I'm not that perfectionist when it comes to my fine art, but when it comes to tattooing, I am very perfectionist.
Yes, I'm sure your clients appreciate that.
So it's a balance.
Interesting. Okay, yeah, I like that. What did it change at all for you? Any like direction or anything that you want to do with your? Actually, you have 1 year left in your MFA.
Mm-hmm. Well, now I'm working with sustainable materials. I try to keep that very present in my practice and try to keep the environment in my head. When it comes to buying new materials, I try to collect a lot of the things that I discard. I have a big collections of caps, of cans, cardboard, different colors of things that I don't want to throw away that eventually would end up in my art somehow.
Yeah, it seems like everybody I know who does fibers is sort of, you have to be kind of a pack rat. And you just have all these collections of
things that you can add to it.
Really similar to being a collage artist where you just have things around you.
And right now I'm working with creating like pulp, and I love the idea of taking this existing material like cardboard and making it into pulp and then transforming it with the things that you add into something else.
Is that something that you can do just at home in your apartment, like in a kind of a small space?
Yeah, well...
Or do you need a lot of room for that?
Because I do work with the outside a lot, so I take branches, leaves that are on the floor, and I process them into making them into pulp. So I do work a lot with my backyard, but I don't work more than what my hands can do, so... Not that big, but not super tiny.
Yeah, she's doing an arm stretch.
Yeah, an arm stretch, like what I can hold with my arms, and sometimes I would do tiny, small things that eventually come together into a big piece. But I do like to see things hanging and see how they are.
That seems nice. I feel like between your tattoo day job and then the fibers, and one, it's like very precise and you have to be cognizant of safety issues and you're working with like very fine lines, and then in this other one where you're just like out in nature collecting branches and it just seems like it's like the two sides of your brain kind of
I never thought of it like that, but it is, because I was mentioning, that's when I realized, I was mentioning to a friend, I'm very like chance, I don't really mind if something is out of the line, but she's like, but you do fine line, and that's the opposite. I'm like, well, I guess I see them so different, but they go together because I love nature, and you see nature in my tattoos, and you see nature in what I'm doing.
Is there anything in tattoos, like are there different inks that are vegan or environmental or something like that?
Most brands nowadays make use natural pigments and vegan ink, so I just use that. And for the plastic that I use in my tattooing, I try to use new companies that are using like compostable or biodegradable ink caps or needles. So I try to keep that present in the things that I buy to tattoo with.
That's very cool. And you work at Tramp Art Studios?
Yeah, I work at Tramp Art Studios.
Do you want to talk a little bit about, you want to give like a little plug to Tramp Art?
Well, I love Tramp Art Studios. I started doing guest spots with them when I was still in Miami, and I would like come down to Savannah, visit friends and family. And I started to know them. And once when I moved here last year around the end of June, I reached out and they reached out and we were like, oh, we need a new employee. And I was like, well, I need somewhere to work.
It's perfect.
It's perfect. And I love the owner, Kirsten Cameron. She's like the best boss ever.
So right now in the summertime, you're there full time?
Yeah, right now I'm doing full time. I was away for the Guatemala internship, but now that I'm back, I'm working full time. And when I'm in school, it's a good balance since you work by clients and you're there waiting for walk-ins. So anytime that I'm there waiting for walk-ins, I'm like doing paperwork for school and working on my computer. So I keep both.
And I love it. You mentioned, so you're really into you specialize in kind of fine, precise things and nature-based. So I will definitely consider coming in and getting my tattoo touched up.
Yes, whenever you're ready, let me know.
Maybe use a little work. So, and so you're going to start back. When does SCAD start again in fall?
I think it's September 9th.
Okay.
I think that's a Monday. And so it's September to November or something.
Yeah. Okay, so this will come out mid-August, so you'll be getting close to starting back at school. Have you chosen your classes yet? Anything you're excited about?
Yeah, I'm taking my first thesis 1 class. I'll be working on my thesis. And I also taking a biomimicry class. So anything that mimics nature and animals and stuff. And well, you use biomimicry, they use it as the design practice to mimic nature into stuff that we can create that work efficiently.
Yeah. Oh, but what a cool just title for a class.
I'm excited for that class because that's the little things that I know about the concept. I need to learn everything now.
Do you, when you're in the fibers department, is there sort of like different tracks for one where you're going into more fine art type things and one where you're into more commercial, like doing pattern design?
It's all blend in. It all depends on what you want to use it for. If you want to go the fine line, the fine art way, or more as a concept design, something to sell or item.
What do you have any ideas of what you want your kind of final thesis project
to
be? Yeah. So far you're gathering sticks.
Yeah, I'm gathering sticks, doing pulp, and working with the connection. My thesis revolves around the idea that everything's connected around us, that we see trees and we see it as something different, but we are connected, and you can see all the forms of the human in nature because we're all connected.
It's very cool. Well, I'm excited for you. It feels like for an MFA, it's like you get started, you have 1 year down, and then you have 1 year to go. It must go by really quickly, right? Where you kind of want it to go on.
Yeah, and that was the main reason why I came back to school. I love going to school and learning so much, especially in SCAD. You learn from so many people, and you have so many opportunities. So.
Yeah, and that department in particular, I mean, that seems really perfect for you because you can still incorporate painting and fine art aspects into your work, but you can do these collage type things, and fibers just seems so kind of free.
Yeah, it is great department.
Is your grandma still alive?
Yeah.
Okay, so how does she feel about you?
She's so proud. She thought she wanted me to go into her dream growing up was for me to be a fashion icon and design clothes. But now I'm in fibers, so that's the most similar to her dream.
That's cool. It's a lot less cutthroat than fashion.
Fashion is such a different environment compared to fibers. Fibers is so broad.
To be like a full-time fashion designer is probably not what she's imagining.
No, but it's so different. Yeah,
they're very cutthroat with each other.
No,
they're ruthless.
I'm doing what she's proud of me. She loves what I'm doing.
That's very cool. How easy is it to get back to Puerto Rico from here? Is it
one flight? Two flights. Usually, you could go to either Miami first, Atlanta, or JFK.
Cool.
And then directly to Puerto Rico. My favorite one is Miami because it's the closest one.
Going to New York seems absurd.
Yeah, that's the worst because you go to New York and then you have to fly for 4 hours to Puerto Rico instead of going to Miami and then flying 2 hours and a half.
Straight there.
Yeah.
What do you see yourself doing? I know it's a year from now, but what are you wanting to do after you get done?
When I get done, I want to focus. I have both. I want to have the tattoo art right there and more focus on it because right now with school, I cannot dedicate 100% of my time. I try to be very present in my tattoo as I go. but I want to focus on that and still like keep reaching out to do more like commission work maybe, or just work with other artists. I don't know what I'm gonna do yet.
Do you see yourself staying in Savannah?
I see myself staying in Savannah for a while. Yeah, while I figure things out.
Yeah.
And from Savannah, you can go anywhere. You can keep traveling. I love to travel.
Yeah.
And work to travel as tattoo. I have a guest spot. I'll be in Denver for the first weekend of September.
That's so cool. I had no idea that there were these like little like flying in to be like a guest chef, where you just drop in and do a little pop-up type of thing.
And I think the good thing about tattooing is that you have that flexibility of work anywhere.
Yeah.
Anywhere where people are getting tattooed, you can work there.
Bring your little like suitcase of needles and inks and stuff?
Oh, yes.
How does that go?
I think that's the downside about traveling with tattooing. You just have to carry... Most tattoo shops already offer the basics, like razors and a table, chair to work in, but you have to carry your own machine, your needles usually, and ink. Those are like the basic.
Is that complicated to fly with that?
I think the most complicated is the inks, because they like to explode.
Yeah.
With the pressure of the plane. But you just have to pack them really good.
So is it you like reaching out? You could reach out to any tattoo shop in like any city and just be like, hey, can I come and do
some tattoo shops put it out there, hey, we're looking for guest spots. Some
so cool.
Some don't, and you just have to ask, and they would be like Tramp Art Studios wasn't offering, like when I started doing guest spots, they weren't offering it out there in their Instagram, and I just DM'd them and talk to them, and they were like, yeah, come these days and we'll be waiting here for you.
So you can just go explore different cities and work while you're there.
In this case with the Denver, Colorado guest spot is other location from Tramp Art. Tramp Art has the one in Savannah and the one in Denver.
Oh my gosh.
So I'm just gonna go there, work with my boss.
Where will you stay when you're there?
Well, while I'm there, I'm just gonna stay with her. That's the other benefit of working.
Yeah. That is really blurring the work-life boundaries.
Yeah. Yeah, but we're really friends.
That'll be good. I love that. That's so cool. Okay, well, I kind of wanted to ask a little bit about the SOY X SOY group. How did you come across that, and what kind of activities have you done with them?
Well, right now with SOY X SOY, we're working on our new exhibition that's going to be opening up in September 13th. I think that's a Friday. And it's
Friday the 13th?
Friday the 13th.
Uh-oh.
Yes. Only good things. And we're working on an exhibition. It's called Cielo y Tierra.
What does that mean?
It's like heaven and earth.
Okay.
So we're working towards that. It's going to be opening up in September 13th. And I got to know them and be part of SOY X SOY when I was doing my undergrad. I met some of on those first meetings, I started meeting all the artists that were in Savannah, and working with them has opened up a lot of opportunities and meeting so many people. We have so many talented artists. I can't even begin.
Yeah, it's so vast, the different types of art.
Yeah, and they're all here. And I didn't know of all these artists until I was reached out to join.
Yeah, it's very cool.
And started.
And the exhibition in the fall, is that at the Cultural Center downtown?
Yeah, it's at the Cultural Arts Center. It's our third one.
I went to last year. This is great.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful space.
It's a beautiful space that can be transformed into, and this year we're gonna really transform it.
Is it gonna be a Fibers kind of mixed media piece?
Well,
for you?
I'm working still with painting right now, and I think most of the things that I'm gonna have there are paintings, but I'm also gonna have some fiber sculptures there as well.
And you said it's Heaven and Earth is the...
Heaven and Earth is the theme.
I'm picturing that famous Hieronymus Bosch painting of
the
decadent pleasures of hell and earth.
I'm so excited. It's supposed to be an experience that you walk through.
Oh, that's so cool. All right, we'll put that on our calendar. We can definitely remember Friday the 13th.
Friday the 13th, September. So easy.
All right. Okay, a question I always like to ask people is, do you consider yourself to be more of an introvert or an extrovert?
I think I'm more of an extrovert. I like to be talking to people and getting to know people.
Yeah.
And putting myself out there. I like to step out of my comfort zone. Moving to Miami by myself, alone, right after college was a big step for me. Yeah. And it was just like a risk. Let's just do it. and I did it. I went there. I think like when you put yourself out there, things happen for you. I went to Miami. I met up with a realtor. I got my apartment that same week. I went to the interview. They put me to to bring a friend and do a tattoo for like see how you work, and I did that first week too, and everything just happened.
Yeah.
But I had to look for it and get those opportunities and ask people and reach out.
Yeah, it sounded like, and you were the one who reached out to Tramp Art.
I reached out to Tramp Art. I used to work at Empire Group, Empire Inc. in Miami, so I reached out to them too as well. So yeah, you just
have
to put
yourself
out there.
Yeah, that's hard for a lot of people, especially like I think a lot of artists are a little shy about that
because it's an intimidating environment.
Yeah,
it is.
My kind of best advice just to like to up and coming artists is like, just don't freak out if you just get a lot of no's and you get turned down. Everybody's getting turned down by things all the time, and you just have to keep going, and you have to just not take that as a sign that it's not meant to be and stop. You just have to keep going.
Keep going. That's not the opportunity for you. And you say when you get no's and stuff, it's not for you.
And I feel like and throughout your whole career, you still are just gonna like I get turned down for stuff all the time, but it's easier like the longer you're into it, it doesn't seem so big and like it's a real statement about your entire art, but at the beginning you think like, oh, this isn't meant to be.
Yeah.
You know.
And coming back to Savannah was also like, I don't know what I'm gonna do. Coming back to Savannah, reaching out to Tramp Art, getting a job, and starting my master's, and I just did it.
I love that. Where are there any spots in Savannah that you like to go to feel inspired?
I live very close to Forsyth, so that's my go-to. I love going to the farmer's market. It's like a reset for me after a long week.
Yeah. Are you into cooking a lot?
I started cooking a lot when I became vegan because my family's not vegan, so I was the only one trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
That was also a thing that took me a while to learn. But yeah, I love cooking. Cooking.
Good recommendations for vegan places in Savannah?
Well, vegan places in Savannah, I love the Sentient Bean. They're just right there. I go to them because they're right there on Saturdays. I love Rider Day. My favorite restaurant closed down. I was like,
is that Fox and Fig?
Fox and Fig.
Yeah.
But I'm hoping Savannah opens a lot of new vegan restaurants.
Yeah. That Urban Deli that opened in their place.
That
is
Urban
very
Deli
good.
has a lot of vegan options, sandwiches too.
Great.
Yeah.
All right. So if anybody is vegan curious, they can take your advice.
Yeah.
Anything else that you kind of want to talk about as upcoming new things, or any thoughts about the arts in Savannah?
Well, I'm very excited because I just recently took the decision of staying in Savannah. I was also thinking after graduation I'm gonna see where I go, but I'm figuring out that there is a very rich art movement in Savannah going on and has been going on for years.
Yeah.
And now with the SOY X SOY, I'm only more motivated to stay and focus on what's going on here. And
to see how many people stay here.
Yeah. There's so many potential new things to happen.
Well, thank you so much, Lusiana. This has been really delightful finally meeting you face to face.
Pleasure meeting you too. Thank you so much for having me.
You're so welcome. And I'm really excited that you just did that internship in Guatemala. That's so cool. And it sounds like you're really assertive about going out and getting opportunities, which is the best thing that you can do.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right, everybody. Well, this has been Lusiana Morales, and I am going to be posting link to her Instagram so you can follow her. And she works at Tramp Art Studios as well. And thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.